Stop what you're doing. If you're even remotely thinking about buying a new iPhone right now, you need to pause. Put your wallet away. Close the Apple Store tab on your browser. You are roughly a few weeks away from making a financial mistake that you will regret for the next 3 or 4 years. The entire tech world is currently looking in the wrong direction, and that is exactly what Apple wants. Everyone is obsessing over the flashy, futuristic foldable prototype that appeared at CES 2026. But while that $2,400 device is stealing the headlines, something far more critical is happening in the supply chain. A device has just entered mass production that is going to change the entire landscape of the smartphone market. It is not a Pro phone. It is not a foldable. It is the iPhone 17e, and it is the most aggressive move Apple has made in a decade. Let's talk about the distraction first. At CES 2026, Apple quietly showcased a crease-free foldable display prototype. It was the kind of tech that makes people lose their minds. It looked impossibly thin, futuristic, and obviously incredibly expensive. It is the classic concept car strategy. They show you something that costs $2,400 to make you feel like the company is 10 years ahead of everyone else. It dominates social media feeds, it gets people arguing in comment sections, and it builds this aura of innovation. But here is the truth that insiders know. That foldable is not the product that matters right now. It is a ghost. The product that actually affects your life and your bank account is the one they aren't talking about yet. According to new reports from the supply chain, specifically from a highly accurate source known as Smart Pikachu on Weibo, the iPhone 17e has officially entered mass production. This isn't a rumor about a drawing on a napkin. This is the real deal. Factories are spinning up. The report states that Apple gave the green light for full mass production immediately following CES, around January 9th. Now, if you follow Apple's patterns, you know that dates like this are never random. They are calculated. Last year, with the iPhone 16e, we saw the exact same timeline. Mass production started on January 8th. The official launch happened on February 19th. The phone was on store shelves before the end of the month. Apple is repeating this formula down to the day. This tells us that we are looking at a guaranteed February 2026 launch window. This timing is significant because it signals a massive shift in Apple's philosophy. For years, February was a quiet month. It was a dead zone for tech. But now, Apple is turning it into a battlefield. They're no longer treating their budget phones as an afterthought. You have to remember how it used to be. We used to get new iPhone SE every 3 or 4 years. They were basically recycling bins for old parts. They had 5-year-old designs, massive bezels, tiny screens, and terrible battery life. They were phones for people who didn't care about phones. But that era is officially dead. The market has changed too much. Google's Pixel A series is incredible. Samsung's Galaxy A lineup is dominating globally. Chinese competitors are offering OLED screens, fast charging, and high refresh rates for pennies. Apple realized they were losing the ground war. They could not afford to refresh their budget lineup slowly anymore. So, the strategy has shifted. We are now getting a new, affordable iPhone every single year, and the iPhone 17e is the first device built entirely around this new aggressive reality. Let's dig into the biggest upgrade, the one that changes the psychology of this phone completely. The display. The notch is finally gone. The iPhone 17e is rumored to feature a 6.1-inch OLED display with a dynamic island. This is huge. It sounds like a tech spec, but it is actually a social signal. For the last few years, if you bought a cheaper iPhone, everyone knew it. You had the notch. You had the thick borders. You looked like you were using an old phone. With the 17e, that distinction disappears. From the front, this phone will look almost indistinguishable from a $900 flagship. It has the same modern design language, the same pill-shaped cutout, and the same edge-to-edge look. For the average person walking into a store, or the average person seeing your phone on a table at dinner, this looks like a premium device. That is intentional. Apple wants to remove the shame of buying the budget model. However, Apple is still Apple. They are masters of upselling, so they have drawn a very hard line in the sand. The refresh rate on the iPhone 17e is staying at 60 Hz. Even in 2026, they are refusing to give the budget model promotion. This is the most controversial part of the device. We're living in a world where $300 Android phones have 120 Hz screens that feel incredibly smooth. Apple knows that once you use a high refresh rate screen, it is very hard to go back. It is one of the biggest psychological reasons people spend extra money for the Pro models. The scrolling feels better, the animations feel fluid, and the phone just feels faster. By keeping the 17e at 60 Hz, they are protecting their profit margins on the Pro lineup. It is frustrating for tech enthusiasts. It is technically outdated, but from a business perspective, it is a calculated move to keep the hierarchy intact. But then we get to the engine, and this is where things get really interesting. The iPhone 17e is expected to use the A19 chip. Yes, the same generation of silicon that will be in the flagship models later this year. On paper, putting an A19 chip in a $599 phone sounds insane. It is like putting a Ferrari engine in a Honda Civic. But there is a catch, and it is a smart one. The A19 inside the 17e will likely be downclocked or binned. This means it is the same architecture, the same neural engine for AI, and the same graphics capability, but they cap the top speed. Think of it like a supercar with an electronic speed limiter. Why would they do this? Two reasons. First, heat and battery. By limiting the peak performance, the phone runs cooler and the battery lasts longer, which is what budget buyers care about most. Second, market segmentation. They cannot have the $599 phone beating the $1,000 phone in speed tests. It would look bad. But here is the reality for you as a user. Even a downclocked A19 is going to be faster than almost anything else on the market. It will crush the mid-range Snapdragons and Exynos chips. Gaming, 4K video editing, multitasking, it will handle all of it without breaking a sweat. It ensures that this phone will remain fast and usable for 5 or 6 years, which gives it incredible resale value. Now, let's talk about a feature that seems small, but actually determines whether this phone feels like junk or a real iPhone. MagSafe. Last year, the iPhone 16e launched without MagSafe magnets, and it was a disaster. It confused people. They bought magnetic wallets that didn't stick. They bought car mounts that fell off. It broke the ecosystem. It made the phone feel cheap and isolated. Apple has reportedly learned its lesson. The iPhone 17e brings MagSafe back. This instantly reconnects the phone to the entire world of accessories. Snap-on battery packs, desk chargers, wallet stands, it all works again. It fixes the biggest complaint from the previous generation and proves that Apple is taking this budget label more seriously. Of course, to hit that $599 price point, they had to cut costs somewhere other than the screen refresh rate. The compromise is in the connectivity. Reports suggest Apple is using an older C1 or C1X modem instead of their newest bleeding-edge communication tech. What does this mean for you? In 99% of situations, absolutely nothing. Your Instagram will load just as fast. Your FaceTime calls will be clear. But in extremely crowded areas, think super-packed stadiums or busy city centers, your 5G speeds might not be quite as blazing fast as the Pro model next to you. It is a connectivity compromise that most people will never notice, but it saves Apple a few dollars per unit, which adds up when you're selling millions of phones. And that brings us to the real reason this phone exists. Why is Apple trying so hard with the 17e? Why give the A19 chip? Why fix the design? It's not just to sell hardware. Apple is pivoting. They're no longer just selling you a screen and a camera. They're selling you access to Apple Intelligence. The future of Apple is AI. We're talking about on-device photo processing, live translation, smart summarization of your emails, a Siri that actually works, and local computing that keeps your data private. All of these features require powerful, modern silicon. They cannot run on old chips. Apple needs hundreds of millions of people using these AI features as fast as possible to train their systems and grow their services revenue. The iPhone 17e is the gateway drug. It is the cheapest ticket into the Apple AI ecosystem. By making the entry point $599, They lower the barrier for millions of people to join the next generation of their platform. So what does that leave you? If you're sitting there with an iPhone 11 or 12 or even a base model 15 and you're thinking about upgrading, waiting is the only logical move. Buying an iPhone 16e right now or an older SE is financial suicide. You are weeks away from a device that offers a modern OLED design, the dynamic island, MagSafe, the A19 chip, and full support for Apple Intelligence for years to come. If you buy a current budget phone today, you are buying obsolete technology that will lose half its value the moment the 17e is announced in February. The only real question mark that remains is your personal tolerance for the screen. Is 60 Hz acceptable to you in 2026? This is where the community is split. For the average casual user, the person who just texts, uses maps, and scrolls TikTok, 60 Hz is fine. They might not even notice the difference. But if you're a tech enthusiast, or if you have used a Pro phone before, going back to 60 Hz feels like walking through mud. It is jarring. Personally, I think Apple should have moved to at least 90 Hz. It would have bridged the gap and made the phone feel truly modern. But Apple is a master of holding back just enough to make you look at the more expensive model. In conclusion, do not let the CES foldables distract you. They are cool, but they are dreams. The iPhone 17e is the reality. It is the phone that will quietly sell tens of millions of units while the tech blogs argue about hinges. It is the phone that will reshape what we expect from a mid-range device. It will make every other budget phone look outdated overnight. It is a strategic weapon, and it is arriving in just a few weeks. If you have $600 to spend, keep it in your pocket for just a little longer. If you found this breakdown helpful and you want to stay ahead of the curve, make sure you click that subscribe button. We're going to be covering the launch live as soon as it happens. Share this video with that friend who is about to buy a new iPhone so they don't make a mistake. And hit the bell icon so you don't miss our full hands-on review when the 17e finally drops. What do you think? Is the lack of 120 Hz a deal breaker for you? Or does the price make it worth it? Let me know your honest opinion in the comments below. I'll see you in the next one.